To plan and direct implementation, operation, and maintenance of clinical ancillary hospital outpatient medical practice. Really boring. Today we're going to dive into the art of creating compelling job descriptions. The kind that not just attract people to apply for the job, but actually get them super invested so that by the time you get around to offering the job, they can't wait. If you're new to this channel, I'm Laura Gassner-Otting. I'm a career expert. I spent 20 years in executive recruiting, and I help people make sense of their careers in a crazy, ever-changing job market. You should subscribe to this YouTube because there's more to come. Here's what we all know about job descriptions. We've got the job summary, company description, key responsibilities of the role, qualifications, salary range, sometimes, and any additional instructions for how to apply. Okay, let's go through each one step by step and how to do each one well. Rather than announcing what people already know, which is all about you as a company, it should be an invitation for your job seeker. So we are looking for somebody who will help us do X, Y, and Z. That's so much more interesting. The job seeker can see themselves in the role. They get excited about it. You are inviting them to become part of their team, as opposed to being this like wall of you cannot get through, it's impenetrable, there's a really scary application process. So what I'd rather see in a job description is like, we are inviting people, not just to apply, but to help us get to the next place that we want to get to. That's way more exciting. It's way more interesting. It starts off the job description on the right note, which is attraction. This one is a senior manager for sales at a tech company, American company, but it's based in Tokyo. They do something really interesting. First, they start off with the same generic stuff that everybody does, but then they do something really neat. They say, we're looking for someone who, and rather than starting off with 2 years of people management, 3 years of solid solutions, strong analytical, technical, blah, 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 which is at the end, they start off with things like, they're looking for someone who is passionate about transforming services, is committed to the team, has high emotional intelligence. So they start off by personality type of the kinds of people who do well there. And then they take it one step further where they say, we know that confidence gap and imposter syndrome can get in the way of meeting spectacular candidates. So please don't hesitate to apply. We'd love to hear from you. So rather than just saying, we're encouraging women and people of color, LGBTQ to apply, they take it one step further by thinking through what kinds of people tend to have a confidence gap or imposter syndrome, because I want to make sure they're not missing the best candidates just because they're people who might not normally see themselves in this type of role. Well done. Nobody is going to care more about your company than you do, unless you help them figure out why they should care about their company, right? Everyone says start with why, but it's not necessarily just why the company matters. It's who do you serve? What are you trying to accomplish? What problems are you trying to solve? Why do you care about those problems? And why should they? This is a great opportunity to say things like, we're a family-run business. It's been in our family for generations, or we're excited about the way that we're solving these new world problems. Like, what is the thing that gets you excited about the job? Why does your company exist? Why should this position exist in the company itself? And when you start with that, the context and the story, then people can place themselves in the story. But if you're just a logo, if you're just a brand, if you're just a website or a building, people won't get excited about that. They're not going to bring their best to work every day. But if they understand the context of why you exist and why you matter and why they in the role matters, they're going to bring themselves every single day to work. So this is a position in healthcare. It's an executive director for information systems. Starts off with the purpose of the position. That seems pretty exciting, right? I'm going to get purpose. I'm going to get calling. I'm going to get all this. But then it just talks about it's to plan and direct implementation, operation, and maintenance of clinical ancillary hospital outpatient medical practice. I hear all the time that people say that IT jobs, healthcare, and blah, 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 not that interesting. Admin, how do you sell it? I actually think that's a cop-out. I think that there's a really easy way to sell it. I think every position, regardless of whether you are in the operating room, like doing the brain surgery, or if you're in IT creating the structures, help get that patient healthier. And if you're not showing your team in every single position their role in getting to that goal, then you're failing as a leader. And that starts with the position description itself. How do you see them from the very first time they even think about working for your organization? How do you help them see themselves as part of the solution that you're trying to reach as an organization? It starts right here. A top talent person is going to do some references on you before they take the job. So the odds are very good that they're going to talk to people who are working in your company. They're going to see how you interact with each other during the interview process. They're going to listen for one person saying a different thing than another person in the interview process. And if they're really smart, they're going to talk to people who used to work at your company who no longer work at your company. So you don't want to get all the way down to the very end of the process, wasting weeks or months and maybe getting rid of other people that could have been good in the process to end up with a candidate that then says no because they heard your dirty laundry later. The bottom line is this: top talent is going to figure out exactly what's wrong, exactly where the problems are, and exactly where the traps are in your organization, whether you tell them or not. And if they hear from somebody else, they're never going to trust a word you have to say. They're not going to say yes to the job. And even if they do, they're going to come in maybe a little tentative, not bringing their full selves. So along the way, I think it's super important to start talking about the challenges that are facing your organization, and breadcrumbing that in through your job description allows them not just to know that there are some things that are coming, it also gives you an opportunity to see if they ask questions about it, how curious they are, whether or not they can read between the lines. So don't air all your dirty laundry, but let them know that there's maybe some laundry piled up that needs to be done. The very first bullet under specific job duties and tasks for this Executive Senior Director for HR Policy and Administration is this: work with HR leaders to develop a strategic plan for university HR. That's a wasted bullet because duh, obviously, that's the position. What does that even mean? What does it look like? What is the strategic vision for university HR? What is the point of your HR department? So many things could be here, but instead, it's a lot of bullets that are like assure legal compliance of HR policies, practices, and programs. You want a really boring, non-creative HR person? You're gonna get them with a really boring, non-creative HR description. Yeah, I once did a search for a director of consulting for the Port Authority of a very large city. And the guy who was the head of the search committee said, we want somebody who has 20 years of running airports. And by the way, we have to hire a woman into this position. Now, this was 1998, and I did the research, and it turns out that there is not a single woman on the planet who had run an airport for more than 20 years. In fact, there was not a single woman on the planet who had run an airport for more than 10 years. But people create these qualifications, and we want somebody who can do this and do that, and they can do physics, and they can also bake the best apple pie, and also, by the way, they have to walk on water. Nobody can do all of those things. And so you really have to focus on what are the must-haves? What does the person really have to do? What is the most important thing that this job has to accomplish, and what kinds of skills and experiences does a person need in order to do that? Everything else would be nice to have. Otherwise, you're scaring off people. You're scaring off the best talent. You're scaring off the kinds of people who would be interesting, who would be different, who would be diverse, who would be creative in this role, because there are a lot of different ways to solve that problem. And if you're only looking at the laundry list, which by the way is often created because the last person in the role had that laundry list. The very worst thing you can do in a job description is just to take the resume of the person who was in the job before and either get exactly the same person or exactly the opposite person, because your organization has changed since the person took the role. You've either fired them because they weren't great, so you don't want to replicate them, or they've moved on because they've done the job and they built your organization and now you're willing to go to the next place. What are the 1 to 2 to 3 to maybe 4 things they absolutely positively have to have, and forget about everything else? I love a job description that has specific directions on how to apply for 2 reasons. Number 1, it helps the applicant actually feel like you care about them. They actually know that when they're applying for something, they know they're gonna hear back from you. They have good feelings about your company. Even if they don't get this job, maybe they get another one, maybe they refer a friend. So if you're giving specific directions, it's actually a sign that you care about the applicants, number 1. Number 2, it's your opportunity to see if they can follow directions. Before you put out the salary requirements, which I do think in this day and age creates transparency, allows for more gender equity, allows for us all to be on a better playing field, and comports with the law in most states, do some homework first. Because by putting a salary out there, you're actually losing the opportunity to just do a market test on what this position should pay. What kind of person do I want? What kinds of skills do they bring to the table? What are the must-haves that they are going to walk in the door on day 1 having? And what are people in the field already making who have that? do a little bit of research, figure out what that range should look like. It may be that you're paying way too much. It may be that you're paying way too little. It may be that you're just right, but you don't know until you've tried all the porridge, Goldilocks. You got to figure that out first. So yes, put the salary description up there. Be transparent, no more gatekeeping, but do a little research first so that you know what you're putting out is actually consonant with what the market is valuing. Remember, a job description is not just an ad, it's a promise. You're inviting someone to join your team, to join your mission, to join your dream. So make it exciting for them by showing them where they can go and who they can be inside of your organization. If you like this video and you found it helpful, don't forget to like it, to share it, and to subscribe to my channel. And by the way, tell me in the comments, what are your challenges when it comes to hiring? What are your challenges when it comes to finding top-tier talent? And what are your challenges when it comes to your own career? I'd love to know so we can solve it in a future video.